Show with Killer, Rev D, and Dr. Jim.
Well, it's March 31st, 2023, the day after the Trump indictment.
Oof.
Yeah.
You know, we were kind of wondering if anything was going to happen because we don't like to do these shows too frequently. Cause
no, we don't.
We had to wait for something.
We had to wait for something significant.
Don't want to overextend our welcome.
I got to say, I'm surprised he was indicted.
Yeah.
Unless there's something that hasn't been leaked yet that is more egregious than we've heard.
Yep.
I can't believe Bragg is doing this. This is nuts.
It is.
$130,000 hush payment. This is what they're spending resources on. And I know it's not the payment itself. It's the potential of use of the wrong kind of funds, right?
Yeah, he had to make a stretch on this thing, unless there's something that we haven't seen, which is a possibility.
My understanding is that whatever he's done, it's a misdemeanor.
Right.
Unless it directly leads to the commission of a felony.
And that would be if he used campaign funds.
Campaign
right?
funds, right. Yeah, they're tying in the campaign.
But, so where is the felony?
TBD.
Right. If you go by the principle that you're innocent until proven guilty, he's not been proven guilty of committing a felony.
Well, and then did you see where Pelosi said that he'll have his chance in court to prove his innocence?
Oh, yeah. Instead of you presumed innocent, got to be proven guilty. He's got to be proven innocent.
And Tuesday, can you imagine the circus that's going to be on television?
Yep.
Whatever you think of Trump, he plays well on television. He's going to play this up. And
he's going to be the ringleader of the circus at some point. Yeah. Anyway, we'll get back to that. I was looking at how we've been doing, how the show's been doing lately, say the last year or so. Well, let me back up. When we first started, I was just posting this to YouTube unlisted and just emailing friends and acquaintances, hey, we got a new show out there. And we'd get maybe 20 to 30 views, right? And we were happy with that.
Right.
I remember the discussion. It's kind of like the Bible. If there's only 10 people listening to the show, would we still do it? Yeah. What about 5 people? Will we still do the show, right? Yeah, we'll do it. But then we decided, let's cut back on the music. We don't want to get in any copyright violations. Let's find some free music and create a podcast that we can publish out there on the podcast share sites. And surprisingly, we're doing pretty good. Now, these aren't Oprah numbers. Like our last Full Squad show had 945 downloads.
Wow.
The show before that, our Christmas show, had 1,000 over 1,000. Now, we've had as many as, now get ready for this, over 3,000. Let me get the numbers here. Our October 19th, 2022 show had 3,659 downloads.
What was
that? Midterm. We were talking about
midterms.
The midterm elections.
Okay, all right.
The next popular show was back in 2020, 3,524, and that's when I dedicated a show to the topic of belief in God.
Mm-hmm.
So what does that tell you? People are hungry for God and for politics. Is
you're going to be
what I'm seeing.
You're going to be hearing from my agent pretty soon, man.
So, and another thing I noticed. So we were, approaching 1,000 downloads that February 1st show. As soon as I introduced a new show, and I did a little quick St. Patrick's Day show with Joe O'Connor, just reminiscing about Detroit St. Patrick's Day happenings. That kind of cuts into the old show. Now, everyone wants the new shiny stuff, yeah. So maybe we'll let this bake for a year, this episode, before we record.
have him begging for more.
But, it also raised the question, how do we increase it? Now that we're approaching...
A sensation?
Internet sensations breaking the internet, how do we double our numbers? So I was thinking... my wife, Carol, watches some of the daytime talk shows, And I've noticed that the way they're set up, a host can say the dumbest, most inane thing, and you know, as a listener, thinking, "Man, that was dumb," or that was pure hyperbole, or whatever, right? But they have producers, I think, that hold up signs and say, you know, applause like mad.
Right.
And I think the effect is, if you're listening from home or watching from home, geez, I thought that was a dumb comment, but the audience thought it was brilliant. So maybe my thinking is wrong.
Maybe
you know?
it was brilliant.
Yeah. So I think we need to, you know, gin up our studio audience here.
Get the crowd
I'll
going.
hold up a sign. And
get them to
Get their-
and
they get
lend
the
us time
applause.
to
Okay.
applause. So let's try, audience.
wow.
All right.
Okay.
Okay. So maybe we just
You
need
may be
to,
onto something.
we might be onto something.
There you go. Try that again.
Yeah, try it again, audience. Nice.
Much better.
Much better. Now, one more time with enthusiasm.
This time, really hit it.
Oh, incredible.
That's it. You might be
I
on
think
something,
we're onto
Killer.
something.
Yeah.
So whenever, you know, Dr. Jim says something where we're scratching our heads, you know, it doesn't happen very often. We'll just hit the applause button, and then the listeners at home will think, another genius take by Dr. Jim.
I don't even have to try anymore then.
No, you
No,
don't.
no.
You
No,
can
I
say
just
anything,
say
Jim.
stupid stuff.
I'll just hold up the sign.
Yep.
And then our studio audience will applause, and we
Jim.
can get away with
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just bought my Lions Super Bowl tickets.
Oh, you want this?
There you go. See? See how that works? Nice job, audience. So we'll try it and see what happens.
Okay.
Good.
But I know, Dave, you mentioned a topic that you wanted to talk about, you know, about how leadership, authority, pretty much all aspects of life really is letting us down.
Yes, when you look at just the way things are going with politics, society, whatever have you, I think the three of us would agree that it's not on a good trajectory. Okay, and I was thinking, and we look for our political leaders to give us some direction. And I was thinking, okay, who is a leader right now that we could look to, and forget Democrat, Republican, that's immaterial. But is there anybody on the horizon that we would have faith in to lead the country right now? And I had a hard time coming up with.
You don't see anybody on the bench,
I don't
huh?
see. Well, I don't see anybody on the bench, on the horizon. It just doesn't appear to me that there is anybody out there right now. And I just wondered what you guys thought about this.
Well, it becomes apparent the more you listen, the more you read, that we're not electing the best and greatest people in this country. And they're deeply flawed and a lot of baggage. I guess we're not surprised anymore. And that's what concerns me. We seem to be accepting it. We're just not getting good people anymore in office.
Yeah, I don't think there's a statesman on the horizon right now that we could look to calm things down, that would give some direction. And I think if you if you have any qualities, you don't run for office right now. You're not going to subject yourself to that, whatever comes with that, because it's automatic that 50% of the population is going to detest you, no matter
you know that going in.
Yeah. It's just it would become so tribal in that. So I think that stops a lot of people from wanting to come forward. But I just don't see anybody who exhibits any qualities that would give you any confidence, or give me any confidence for the future.
I don't think there's any true patriots anymore. I think politicians now feel like they have to apologize to the world for the United States. That's just the vibe I get, that they need to apologize for us. To me, it's a little backwards. People don't tally lists of the good things the U.S. does. They tally lists of all the messes we've made, or all the quagmires or whatever that we're involved in, It's not popular to be patriotic anymore. That's part of my concern anyway, if that's related to the problem you're discussing or not.
Well, I think some of it has to do with, the leaders are only half of the equation. It's the people who are led do they deserve good leaders? What do they think is missing in the leaders? So we have, and we talked about this a little bit, there was a Wall Street Journal poll that they took. They were essentially saying that, and to your point regarding patriotism, the share of Americans who say patriotism is very important has dropped from 70% in 1998
My son was born.
to 38% today.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah, how does that?
That's just like a drastic drop. All
How
of a
does
sudden
that
it's
happen?
not- Yeah.
That I think is something that it's hard to find a leader to care about something when the people being led don't care about it.
But is it the tail wagging the dog? Who's leading who here? We're not patriotic because I don't think our leaders are.
Yeah, well, we don't
promoting
trust
it.
any of our institutions, from the churches to the government to business. I mean, you can't even just trust your banker today. So,
No.
So religion here, it says, the share of those who say religion is very important in 1998 was 62%.
That said religion was important. 62%. Okay.
Was very important. Has dropped from 62% to 39%.
You can see both trends. It's sad. Traditional American values is what you're saying. They're not held in high regard anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
The share of those having children is very important. It dropped from 59% to 30%.
That's huge. These are significant drops.
So when
These
you
aren't
say,
single-digit drops. These are.
yeah, it's not like
Huge
5% drop.
Right.
We're talking,
Yeah.
almost 50% drop
That's
in these
unbelievable. This is a Wall Street Journal poll.
things. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what happened? Okay, we're in our 60s, 70s.
Leadership.
Well, no way. Okay, but we haven't changed our opinion. Patriotism would still be important to us, is
Right.
what I'm trying to say. Okay, and I think most people in their 60s, 70s would agree.
Okay.
It would be the younger people who would not agree with this.
Correct.
Correct? Okay. So what's happened to them? Is it schools? Is it society?
It's schools.
I think it's a combination.
Yeah, it
The
is.
schools do not support civic virtue. The use of the word virtue is like, it's where the old four-letter used to be. Virtue is now a four-letter word, essentially. Virtue, integrity, trustworthiness. All of these things are like looked on as scams. And they're scams that have been used by our institutions. I think that's the way young people regard those words. Not that the words mean what they've always meant, but they think that all those words have been weaponized by institutions to control them, control their behavior, and then they're redefined depending on what some group's agenda is. But how did we get there? I think it's just this erosion over time.
So was it
Go ahead, Dave.
Was it the lack of trust in government or in churches that because of what they?
Look at what happened to the Catholic Church.
Yeah.
you know?
So what they did?
Yeah.
Do you think? And people just said, "I'm out."
Well, I think it's in terms of like churches. It used to be that, these are the things that we believe you ought to do. Oh, by the way, you really don't have to do them because that's not fair or whatever. But I think that there's no consequences for bad actions, I guess, is what it comes down to. So you have religious institutions. Now you have clergy scandals in the Catholic Church. And they're going to send you to hell because you ate meat on Friday. This is insane.
The incongruity. You mean?
Yeah.
That's okay.
See?
Yeah.
I think it works.
Just
Thank
and,
you,
and, you know, and it just came out of nowhere,
It did.
didn't it?
Wow.
It
was
just a
spontaneous.
nugget,
Yeah.
just a nut. Dr. Jim Nugget.
I think they just wait for Jim to
Yeah.
make his point. And,
You know, it's not all about me, guys. It's about the audience. We're just here for the audience.
We're just here for that's right.
So okay, so these institute churches, government, they've just kind of lost their moral authority, is what you're saying.
I'm saying, well, churches, I'd say, lost it. But government is another story. Government is us. We elect these people. And if we continue to choose to elect them, there must be a reason. They're saying these things and not doing what we're sitting here saying they should be doing, and we're electing them again. I mean, people are talking about, you know, you can name whoever, a politician, and say, so this guy from whatever, Long Island, George Santos or whatever his name is. So this guy, he was elected.
That's unbelievable.
The people in his constituents elected him. So whose fault is it that he's in an elected office? You know, and
What
now
you deserve sometimes.
yeah, and now we're getting ready to, you know, we're heading into the silly presidential season, and we all know where this is going. You know, Trump is going to use this latest
Persecution.
persecution to
The
get
greatest
the
persecution of all time.
greatest.
This was the best presidential indictment of all time. Well, it was the only one, yes, but it was still the greatest.
Because others, that's why I'm the greatest president ever. He's going to use this to win the nomination. He's going
Wow.
to be, and if he doesn't win the nomination, the person who does win it has got to be close to him to win it. Then they're going to go up against Biden. They will nominate Biden. He'll get into the election, him and Kamala, and we'll get the same presidency. And then we keep our fingers crossed that Joe is going to make it for the next 4 years.
Oh, God. Well, come on. It's been a noticeable decline. We've seen it.
Well, we just want
Where is he going to be like at the end of another 4 years?
we just want him to stay alive. There's always going to be. It's like when Reagan was in his final years. He wasn't the sharpest tool in the shed
True.
either. But you know, there were people there to steer the ship.
Dave, you've been kind of quiet.
No, it's
It's discouraging.
it's
I
a
wish
very,
I had.
it's very discouraging.
So we
to
want
think about.
if we're thinking about that, all of this will be solved if we get the right person from some elite group up here in a position of power. That person still has the voting class that has gotten us into this situation in the first place.
It's back to what Dave's saying. Who would that be? There's no talent on the bench. I mean, are we really going to have Biden and Trump all over again? That just blows my mind.
And I think the problem is that who in their right mind is going to run? And you look at the local, our state. You look at the people who run, and man, there's just not a lot of quality out there.
No.
And
The system, the way it's being implemented today, has chased away the good people, the good candidates.
yeah, I don't know if it's the money. You got to have a lot of money to run, or the backing, or you got to toe the company line, either the Republican or Democrat line. You can't vary from that. I don't know what the reason is, but I don't think we get a good quality of person running right now, and I don't see that changing.
I see two trends. It's almost internally an anti-American sentiment. Yeah, I mean, wasn't Michelle said I've never been more
right
enraged with
my country,
my country. And the other thing is just the polarization now between the two parties, and how it's not about serving citizens anymore. It's all about party ideology.
It is, and I got to fault the press for that. We'll say the internet, and I guess that the press is part of that too. But it just everything presented is so tribal. It's either Fox News or CNN, and they're reporting the same story
from different angles.
You've got to be kidding. This is the same story.
Yeah, how
and
can this be the
how
same
how can
story?
this be the same thing? But they're doing it from their bias. They're doing it from their bias.
They're doing it. It's one thing to say bias. I think they're doing it for totally mercenary.
Oh, absolutely,
ratings.
absolutely.
They're playing to their audience.
They're playing to their audience. You're absolutely
and if
right.
the audience is going to be there, they're going to give them what they want. And so again, it gets back to the people. It gets back to us. If we are going to watch these shows, if we are going to watch MSNBC, if we're going to watch Lawrence O'Donnell, if we're going to watch Tucker Carlson, what do we expect?
But Jim, what else is there? I think CNN tried after this new guy came in. I think
Light or whatever.
I think they've tried.
And it didn't work. Their
It hasn't
ratings
worked.
are at an all-time low
So we want red meat.
because they're not stirring
right.
people up. Yeah.
Right, we want clicks.
Right.
You know that I think that's what a lot of it is that you look when you're just browsing the internet for something, and what gets you to click on, it's some crazy crazy headline.
I find myself doing.
Well,
that all
sure,
the
it's
time.
human nature.
Yeah.
And you click on it, and it has nothing to do with the headline.
If there's a
but-
picture of AOC, I'm going to click on it. Yeah, I am, because what is she saying now? I mean, it's not even newsworthy. You know what I mean? I get sucked into it.
Right. You mentioned what's the alternative. It's like you don't listen to any of them. It's like, but that's too.
Well, I
just get sucked into it.
Well, okay. Or do you watch Fox and you look at CNN?
No.
Well, to get a middle thing.
You're not going to get a middle.
No, you're not going to get a middle, but kind of read between the lines of both of them and figure out what's going on. I'm not sure. I'm not saying that's the. I don't have another alternative because I don't know where you go now to get an unbiased look at things.
I think the CNN experiment, very short-lived. I think basically it's saying that unbiased news reporting is boring. What team are you on? You want to cheer for your team, and you want you want the TV host to go after the other side. That's
Correct. Correct.
So unbiased just doesn't sell.
Right.
It doesn't sell.
And the result is we have not only don't we have leaders, we have institutions that are paralyzed. I mean, Congress may as well we should just eliminate Congress and let Biden, pass executive orders and let the Supreme Court decide if they're constitutional.
Thank you, audience. Boy, they're on the edge of their seat.
They're on their edge of the seat with you, Jim.
These guys are sharp.
Whatever Dr. Jim said, it was brilliant. It had to have been brilliant. Look at the audience reactions.
You guys weren't paying attention. I saw you nodding off over there.
So is this kind of what you had in mind, Dave? Leadership?
No, we
how
haven't.
failed leadership?
I think what we wanted to do is, be nice. Let's have a list. These are 10 people we think would be great.
I
leaders.
couldn't.
I got a couple.
Go.
I got a couple.
It can't be Ben
What I
Franklin.
like are people that aren't afraid to buck the system.
Well, wait.
okay?
It can't be Ben Franklin. It's got to be people who
you
are
gotta be living.
How about Liz Cheney? How about Joe Manchin? All right, Joe Manchin.
I like Joe. He kind of disappointed me when he voted for that. What was that infrastructure thing? But now he came out and said he was hoodwinked. Did you see the editorial he had in the Journal?
No.
This week he put said Biden has not fulfilled what that bill was supposed to do. But I think Joe's trying to get reelected in West Virginia right now.
This is what. So actually, you hit upon what are the characteristics of these leaders that we need. We need some. So one of the things that Joe Manchin demonstrated is the ability to read the room and to sort of keep.
What bullshit knob to turn is what it was.
That's right. But you got to be able to do that. I mean, how did Billy Clinton get away with this all those years ago? He felt everybody's pain.
He did, didn't he? Yeah,
So-
I feel your pain.
So I think there you go. He was. I mean, this is the thing that there are things that we would regard as not necessarily the most complimentary characteristics to describe people, but they're necessary if you're in a leadership position. And you got to be able to tap dance. So I think one of the things we have to consider, it's not just the individual we decide, it's what is their vision for what they want to, where they want to lead us to. So, you can think of whatever your issue is, let's say energy. What's our energy policy? Even if you're a greenie to the nth degree, you have got to give me an analysis that says, okay, we want to eliminate all internal combustion engines and diesels. Okay? Don't give me a date. Tell me, okay, how are you going to do that?
Yeah, instead, it's like, we'll pull a date out of thin air. Everything's got to be electrification by the state with no planning.
Right.
It's just, government's famous for that.
The other thing is, now that you've eliminated all these transportation uses of energy, how much are you actually going to reduce CO2 emissions? You have to take into account, okay, now we're going to use electricity, but we got to burn fossil fuels to generate electricity. What's your policy toward nuclear energy for generating electricity? What about all these rare earth minerals that you have to get a hold of to put in all these magical devices for eliminating energy? It can't be just wishful thinking.
It's Greta Thunberg thinking.
Yeah, a 14-year-old.
Yeah, Jeff. Greta Thunberg has dictated a lot of the policies right now.
But that's because the people who pass for leaders are doing whatever is politically expedient. And they're, like some shows, not ours, they're driven by just applause lines.
I don't know, Jim.
Applause is not a bad thing. It's just that, some shows manipulate their applause lines.
We have integrity
we wouldn't
here.
do that.
I know.
No,
This was all spontaneous applause by our
organic.
audience. This was not prompted by
organic applause.
That's right. Yeah. Well, that's why I felt safe in bringing up the subject, because I know our audience has integrity.
That's right.
They would not applaud if they didn't mean it.
That's right. Exactly.
Jim, there is no energy policy.
There is none.
There is none.
No.
That's the Mike
Policy
said.
go ahead.
No, the policy is like California. What they have by 2035. Eliminate.
The policy is to eliminate energy.
Eliminate.
Yeah,
that's it. That's
get
the
rid
policy.
of gas
That's the policy.
No, let's eliminate energy. The way to reduce CO2 emissions is to eliminate energy.
No, it's to eliminate use of these things.
But those they generate energy. If we got rid of energy, we wouldn't have any of these problems.
Did you see? I think it was this week that in Europe where they kind of backtracked on some of these things that they're going to let
they are.
Yeah, they're going to have ICE for they're going to keep that now. But the fuel that they're going to use has to be specially formulated so it doesn't
by ferries in.
Well, I don't know how they're going to do it, but they're hoping Snow White will come in or something. You got to do something
from a simulation.
Yeah,
from AI.
you can't.
AI will do it. Let's let AI
solve everything.
Yeah, the way the fuel is produced has to be can't add to the pollution.
Right.
So
Okay.
there was something crazy, but they're kind of backing off on.
So
they don't think 2035 is doable.
So they're going full bore on
Surprise.
nuclear. Is that what they're doing?
I think Europe is probably more open to, and I think we'll go full bore on. We're going to have to
On nuclear?
On nuclear.
Somebody has to make a decision.
Well, but
Back to leadership.
Yeah.
It's just spontaneous. Jim is triggering the audience today. He's really in.
They're in tune. They're just
simpatico.
Symbiotic. Yeah.
Simpatico. Well, let me try to sum this up a little bit here.
Okay.
I've been reading the autobiography of Benjamin Franklin.
Okay.
And
you've been what?
As a young man,
you got like a book?
I got a book. So in 1731, just his observations about political parties.
Okay.
His are his observations. That the great affairs of the world, the wars, revolutions, etc., are carried on and affected by parties,
Yes.
that the view of these parties is their present general interest or what they take to be such, that the different views of these different parties occasion all confusion, that while a party is carrying on a general design, each man has his particular private interests in view, that as soon as a party has gained its general point, each member becomes intent upon his particular interests, which, thwarting others, breaks the party into divisions and occasions more confusion, that few in public affairs act from a mere view of the good of the country, whatever they may pretend, and though their actings bring real good to their country, yet men primarily considered that their own and their country's interest were united and did not act from a principle of benevolence, that fewer still in public affairs act with a view to the good of mankind. So this is 1731. That's the dynamics in a party he just described in 1731.
The human condition.
I'm going to bring this to a closure. Again, going back to Mr. Franklin. So, he really promoted the concept of a new party, United Party of Virtue. And, maybe it's pie in the sky, but Party of Virtue by forming the virtuous and good men of all nations into a regular body to be governed by suitable, good, and wise rules. Nice on paper, right?
Right.
But, he actually felt like this had a chance, and he wanted to put some energy behind it over his life, but he always was, diverted. But he said he wrote down stuff from time to time, kind of supporting that concept, and most of which are lost, he said. But I find one purporting to be the substance of an intended creed, containing, as I thought, the essentials of every known religion, and being free of everything that might shock the professors of any religion. It is expressed in these words: that there is one God who made all things, that he governs the world by his providence, that he ought to be worshipped by adoration, prayer, and thanksgiving, but that the most acceptable service of God is doing good to man, that the soul is immortal, and that God will certainly reward virtue and punish vice either here or hereafter. If people could live by that simple creed,
Yep.
how much better would the world be?
Yep. Good luck.
I'm waiting to see the politician who,
Espouses that.
yep.
Wouldn't that be something? All right. Till next time. Music by War on Drugs, as found on the Internet Archives, archive.org.